birthday here at Millbrook Gravesend today, and we're also celebrating 45 years as a business. Happy
birthday! There we go. Right, have a good day, everybody. See you later.
Welcome to Spring at Millbrook. We've been celebrating here. Millbrook is 45 years old as of the 3rd of March, and 30 years they've been at Gravesend as well, so it's been big celebrations here. As spring is really here now, here's some jobs you can be doing in your garden right now. This is the time to prune your roses before they put on too much more growth. The first thing you need, and it's very important, is a clean, sharp pair of secateurs, or if it's a bigger, larger rose, then you're going to need some loppers or something a bit more substantial to cut the bigger branches. But they have to be clean because you're making a wound in the plant and it could get the disease from that. So normally shrub roses will take quite a bit of hard pruning and it can encourage more vigorous growth. But you want to make sure that when you do prune a rose, you do it just above a new leaf bud and facing away from that new leaf bud. So when you face it at an angle away, about 45 degrees, if the rain hits that open wound, it's going to run off and it won't run into the bud and it won't get into the plant and cause any pests or diseases. The second thing you've got to do is look at the shape of your rose shrub and have a look and see if it's tangled up or if it's all mushed together. You've got to be able to cut it and prune it to give it a really nice, almost like a vase shape, and to open up the twigs and branches in between to give it a lot of air circulation. Otherwise, if it doesn't have that, then it's got more chance of pests. So we tend to look at a thing called the 3 Ds. So it's dead, damaged or diseased. And they're the 3 things that you think of when pruning a rose. So you remove any dead branches or twigs right down to the ground, and they're usually the black or brown, they'll just snap. But if you do like a nice neat cut at the bottom. Damaged is something where probably branches have been rubbing together and they've caused damage on the stem. That could lead to an open wound, which can lead to disease, so you need to trim those out. Dead, damaged, diseased, so anything that's got something on it that you think, no, that's not right, I just don't want this to affect the rest of my rose, cut it off. Anything other than ramblers, patios and miniatures and ground cover roses, you can be fairly harsh with them, and the more mature they are, the harsher you can be with them, and they'll bounce back really well for you. So the best thing to do this time of year is to feed them and mulch them after you've pruned them. So you give them a good water, then you can feed them with a variety of foods. We've got quite a few examples here. The good old-fashioned fish blood and bone, which can be sprinkled around the base of the plant, and it will be taken down to give the rose nice new nutrients. And we've got the rose tree and shrub, which is a granular feed, which will slowly disintegrate into the ground around the rose and give it a nice feed and lots of nutrients and magnesium. Vitax Q4 is a very well-known all-purpose feed that can be used on other shrubs as well. Another little slow-release feed there for roses. And this is a 2-step one, which fights against diseases, so it protects it, and it also gives it like a nice little feed as well. And this one is one that contains the mycorrhizal fungi, which will improve the root structure of the rose as well and help it form roots to absorb more water and keep the plant well watered during the summer months. So once you've fed your rose, it's good time to mulch it, because mulching will protect everything that's just gone into that ground. It'll protect the plant from weeds growing around it, and it will also retain the moisture, because roses do like the moisture. They're like a free drained soil, but they do like it to be quite moist. So that's a good start to what you can do with your roses this time of year. Just don't be worried. It's not a science about pruning roses. They're really tough plants. I was just having a little look around the colour wheel here and spotted these beautiful plants. Everything's just coming back to life now. So this is called a pulmonaria, and its variety name is Victorian brooch, which I think is a really lovely name. The bees absolutely love this plant. So if you've got room in your garden for this, it would be a really good buy. There's the hyacinths are coming up now as well, got a beautiful scent, and the clematis are just starting to green up, depending on the type of clematis that is, but everything's just bursting through the beds. And this is what happens with herbaceous perennials: die down during the winter and everything springs to life in early spring.
This is a very recognisable shrub in a lot of people's gardens and is often like the first sign of spring. Bright yellow, nice and bright, welcome spring. This is a Forsythia, and what you can do once it's finished flowering, it's a good time to prune it, because any time after that, and you may well lose some flowers for the following year. So once the flowers have gone, cut it to the height you want, and you'll get a little bit of new growth on that, but then it can produce its new growth for next year. Got the choice here, Aztec Pearl it's called. All the white flowers are just about to burst open on it. This is an evergreen shrub, so quite useful for structure in the garden as well. It's not that fast growing, so it's quite a nice, easy plant to grow in your garden. This is a spirea. It's got beautiful white flowers, and it's actually called bridal wreath is the variety, so it's really lovely for a spring garden.
Okay, so we're just checking on our seedlings. Most of them are doing absolutely fine. The scabious are doing really well, putting on some nice new growth. When the weather warms up even more, we'll be able to, these fibre pots are biodegradable, so we'll be able to just plant that, and it will, the roots will come through and it'll just get degraded into the soil. So we haven't got to pop these ones on anymore. In the antirrhinum, they're doing really well. You can either divide those when they get a bit bigger, or you can actually plant them as a clump of 3. There's nothing wrong with that, that'd be fine. The lobelia, they're struggling a tiny bit. We've got something here called dieback, which is just something that you do get sometimes with seedlings. They just don't cope very well. They're such tiny little plants, but we'll pull those ones out, and then that'll give the other ones a chance for a bit more room, so they'll spread out a bit more. A little bit more slower growing is the lobelia, but that will catch up with everything else. When I planted these on, I used John Innes potting on compost, so it's like the next stage on compost for these. And actually, looking at the scabious here, I'm not sure if they're going to need to be potted on further or can actually go straight into the ground. With the smaller plants here, you may well need to use the next stage up, which is the younger plants compost. So we could divide these up as they get bushier. But these fibre pots are actually great for going straight into the ground because they're biodegradable. You haven't got to disturb the roots. The roots will grow out of these into the soil, and it'll all just like get biodegraded down into the ground. So you haven't got to disturb the roots of these larger plants here.
Also, herbs are now in stock, so it's a good time for you to plant up a lovely tasty herb pot that you can pick from fresh for your cooking or your salads. We've got lots of new plants in stock, including these beautiful lavenders. These ones here have got like the little petals on the top there, and they're known as the French lavender. So they're the ones that are quite blousy. They do have a scent, but not as good as the English ones. With the English lavenders are a little bit plainer looking flowers, but the scent is amazing. So lavenders such as Munstead, Hidcote and Vera are all English lavenders. So they all do the same thing, but I think these ones for scent, you cannot beat an English lavender. We've got lots of strip vegetables in now, so it's a good time to sow your veg. They still need a little bit of protection at night with some fleece if it's cold. We've also got seeds that you can start growing as well, so it's a good time to get in the veg garden.
This week I'm going to be planting up a very simple vegetable planter. If you haven't got a lot of space or a balcony or something like that, then this is kind of ideal. Any planter you can plant up with salad, herbs and tomatoes and peppers. So the first thing I'm going to do is plant up a tumbling tom tomato, which doesn't get too tall. So you can just plant that in the front there. And then within a few weeks that will be tumbling over the front of the planter, and you can pick tomatoes whenever you want to. So that's the lower part at the front. So we'll keep it low, start at the front here. And I've got some what they call cut and come again salad leaves. So you plant these up, and then after a few weeks you can harvest them. And if you just cut them rather than pull them out, then they will just keep growing back all summer long. So you'll have salad all summer. The other way you can do it is they germinate very, very easily. So we've got some mixed salad leaves here as seeds. So you can sprinkle them in If you do it like every 2 weeks or something like that and stagger the planting, then you're going to have a continuous harvest all the way through the summer. And they're really, really easy to grow. So that's your salad leaves there. And then in the back, I've got some patio peppers, so they won't get too tall either. So we'll plant up this one here. That will start producing flowers, which will then turn into peppers. Put a tag in the back. Then we've got a chili pepper here called Cayenne. Put that one in the centre. Just firm it in. And then the last one here is a patio pepper called Balcony. So you've got 3 different types here, which will probably fruit at different times as well. So you'll have a good stagger of mix of peppers and things to produce all summer long. They've got another one here as well. What you could do is plant up some radish, and you can either sow a seed because they germinate again really quickly, or you can buy them in strips like this where you just divide them and plant them about 1 centimetre apart and give them plenty of water, and they'll be fine all summer long. So in this planter I've used a really good quality Westland New Horizon organic compost, but you can use any good quality peat-free multi-purpose compost as well. You must also have drainage holes in the bottom as well. If it gets cold at night, these particular planters have a plastic lid which you can put on top, and it will just prevent the cold weather from affecting your salad leaves. It has vents in the top as well, so you can create your own little microclimate in there, make it nice and warm for them.
Honestly, it's been a roller coaster and it's been a joy, and there's certainly never a dull day, and I think everybody that works here will definitely say that. Before I finish, Mum didn't mention, but she is actually the chairman of Green Fingers, who are the charity that we've been supporting for the last 3 years. So Green Fingers build gardens in hospices, children's hospices, and we've just built a garden at Demelza House, which is opening in May. And we've been raising money for that charity for the last 3 years. And I'm really proud that we are presenting Mum as chairman of Green Fingers with a cheque for £38,560.
My mum and dad started back in 1979, and 45 years later we're really proud to still be here as a business and thriving, and really it's thanks to all of our staff and our customers over the last 45 years for supporting us through this journey, and here's to the next 45. Thank you.